A few announcements. I'm Rachel Rosenthal, president of the club for this year. And I see a lot of friendly and familiar faces out there because this is our first in-person only meeting since pre-COVID. We've had both modalities, in person and on Zoom. But for this meeting, we're focusing on the members. And we wanted, we have a almost new AV crew up here, which we should be very thankful for. Yes. With acknowledgement to Peter Mason, he's sitting back there quietly, who has served us so well for so many years. Yes, Peter, raise your hand. Say thank you to him at the break, please. And we also owe a thank you to Craig Worson, who's stepping in for Peter and going to take over the AV duties for the club. So he's training today, yes, so thank you, Craig. Douglas is stepping in for George Rappel, who's in France. So he's volunteering, yes, indeed. And David Wong has graciously agreed he brought his own camera equipment, and he's taping tonight's presentation so then it can be uploaded to the club's website. So folks who couldn't be here tonight can watch it, and if those of you would like to rewatch it, you can do so in the next few days when it's uploaded. So much appreciation to the crew here. Yeah. All right, a reminder from the church is asked that we just keep the door closed in case a meeting is occurring in one of the other rooms in this building, so much appreciated. All right, so before I go into the announcements, I'm going to turn it over to Barbara Summers. Come on up. She's our membership chair to welcome our newest members and guests. So come on up, Barbara.
Good afternoon. Well, things are changing from the time I came in the door 30 minutes ago till now. We were 152 and we are now 153, just that quick. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have two guests tonight. We have a bigger crowd than we've seen in a long time. I'm so happy to see you all back here. So good to see you. We have a couple of new members that I wanted to introduce you to. Angela DiCarlo, go ahead. Angela, stand up and tell us just a little bit, briefly, about the kind of photography that you enjoy. There's a mic, Angela. There you go.
Dear.
Yeah, no pressure. Me too.
Okay, can you hear me? I like the artistry side of photography. I normally take pictures and change them a lot. I try to tell a story through my work. It shows how you view the world, tells the story of the way your mind's working and how you're perceiving something, which is always different because we all think differently. So you probably won't recognize my images by the time I've changed them.
Thank you. We also have Christine Clifton. She's here. Aha. There you go, your turn.
Hi. Well, I really don't have a lot to say. I just really enjoy taking photos, and right now I'm using my iPhone, and things are coming out pretty good. So that's it.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, so if you came in the door and you didn't sign in at break, please go back there and put your X on the mark, okay? And I think that's about all that I really have for tonight. Enjoy, enjoy.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. All right, so I've got 3 events I'd like to share with you. I sent out an email on 2 of them. First one up is the club's annual all-day workshop. We do this every fall. The last 2 years, we've done it only on Zoom. But this year's, the date is November 5th from basically 9 to 4. And then what we're going to do is do both in person and on Zoom from the church. So I want to say thank you. Mike Oitzman has joined me. We'll be the co-facilitators for the day-long workshop. There'll be 8 different workshops. 2 tracks, one online, which are more of the software, Photoshop, Lightroom, that type of thing, and then there'll be a hands-on track of different topics. For example, camera basics, bring your camera and we'll show you how to work it if you want to find different features on your camera. Hands-on framing, come with a print and maybe leave with a framed image, pretty exciting. And some lighting demos, that type of thing. And I'll send out an email with all the details once we have all the presenters and workshops finalized. But mark your calendars for November 5th. And then every year too, the club at the end of the year does a awards celebration. And we used to go to dinner pre-COVID and have awards given out. Last 2 years it's been on Zoom. But this year we are returning to in-person, and that is January 14th of 2023, and it's going to be at the Courtyard Suites, with big thanks to them. They've become a wonderful partner to this club. They've hosted some of our exhibitions, and they're just tickled as they can be to have us for our annual award celebration. And then the third one is actually coming up October 1st. The Nevada County Arts Council has offered free entry to any of the Camera Club members that want to attend. It's called the Business of Art Symposium, and starts at 8:30 on October 1st. And I will send an email. I just got notice today about this event, and it's a day-long series of presentations all about art, about if you want to go into business, sell prints, marketing, things to think about. It's for all artists, not just photographers, but so you can take a look at the workshop offerings and see if there's any that really call to you. And if you'd like to go, please do so. It's been several years. The last one was very inspirational, and entry is free for all of us. So thanks to Nevada County Arts Council. All right, so the next one up is our cameraman, David Wong. Do you want to wait, or is this a good time? He had a couple of announcements. Okay. He wears many hats in this club. Okay. Many earphones.
So, we have, as you surmise, for you that have been here for a while, we have elections coming up. We've had such wonderful leadership from everybody on the board this last couple of years, and people have termed out. So we will have in October the slate of people that want to run for the board positions: president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. If you would like to run, or if you know somebody that would like to run, we'd welcome your input. Throw your name in the hat, because this club only runs as well as the volunteers here. So that will happen in November. We do have a few people that have graciously stepped up to say that they will run, but we have especially the position of treasurer. If you're good with numbers, we really need somebody to run for treasurer, and that will happen in October. That's one. And just a personal announcement, my workshop in Scotland in April 21 of next year still has openings in it. If you'd like to come to Scotland with me in the workshop, Bill Wages will be there, and a number of other people here will join us. And I also have a flyer I'll put up in the back just announcing my just set up for East Africa next year. Tanzania, July 28th to August 8th, the big migration. Luxury accommodations, 2 or 3 people per vehicle, no overcrowding, and it'll be the trip of a lifetime for those of you that want to go to Africa. If you've never been, East Africa is where you should go the first time. So see me afterwards or give me a holler. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. And the way the elections will go is David is chair of the nominating committee, and he has a couple of club members helping him. And that committee then will take names of interested parties and the 4 elected positions and prepare a slate, and the club will vote on that slate at our November meeting, and those officers take effect in January of 2023. We have some other needs for volunteers too. So beyond the elected, we've got a list of folks where we could use some help. So ask me, ask David, ask Kathy, Vice President. So just ask, we'd love to have you. What else? Let's see. The club, as you've heard us speak in the past, we are participating in Photography Month 2023, which is in the month of April. This year we did 3 events, Granucci exhibition, we did the on-camera challenge, and we did photo walks. So we're repeating those 3 events in April of 2023. So first up is the Granucci Gallery exhibition. And so I sent out the call for art, the prospectus on that a couple of weeks ago. The deadline for submission to this exhibition is November 30th. So, and it's entitled Visions in Monochrome. So it has to be a single color image. So don't miss that. It was a fantastic exhibition this year, and we hope to repeat that success next year. All right. And then one last comment is the board at the end of each year does a review of our photo categories. So this is the 16 categories we have where you enter your photos for critique each month. So at the end of each year, we take a look and see how many of those categories were used and see if any of them need tweaking. So if you have comments about the photo categories, shoot me an email. I'd like your feedback. Okay. Any other announcements? Anybody? Okay. Kathy? She told me to stretch it out. Okay. How are you guys doing? So tonight is all about you guys and your images. So Kathy's going to take us through the series presentation. And again, this is an annual event every September that the club does.
All right, I'm back. We got them all loaded. We have 25, 26 images. 24.
We'd like to have June's.
Yeah, we'd love to have June's, but somehow it's not recognizing our flash drive.
Peter, do you think you can get it to recognize June's flash?
All right, now you can hear me. I don't have to yell. So we do this every year. We've done it for the last, 4 or 5? Do you want me to move back, David? Hello. We do this every year. We've done it for like the last 4 or 5 years, I guess, and it's so much fun. And we've seen some amazing work on behalf of our members. One year we had amazing fall leaves by Tom Quinn that went into, I think you decided to put it into a show, right? Your autumn leaf dancers. Yeah. Yeah, that's a short answer. Yes, he did. So anyway, but we've had touching, moving, funny, just plain great talent here in this club. And I also applaud those of you who have never done this before and decided that you wanted to try it and just put in 80-year photos. So congratulations to everyone who put something in this evening. And we're going to start. I do not know how Douglas loaded them. So he's just going to bring them up, and then I'm going to bring the microphone to you. This is about where you put it, right here, and you hold it up. You can't talk like this, you know. So this is also a little education in using a handheld mic. So who are we starting with, Douglas? So what we'd like is just tell us about your series, short bites. We're going to go through each of your images one by one. You can tell us if there's a story to it, and get the recognition that you deserve for the work you're doing. So who are we starting with? This looks like Jonathan Beth. Is that right? Jonathan, is this yours? All right.
So we went to the circus, Cirque du Soleil. The name was Allergia, which I think it means fast. And luckily I was way in the back by the wall, so I didn't interrupt anyone with my camera. I took a bunch of photos, and enjoy.
Do you want to comment on any of them individually?
Maybe.
All right, we'll see. Hang on to the microphone.
Okay.
So do you do anything in particular with your photos?
At Topaz.
Processing?
Topaz.
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 Oh, Topaz Labs?
Yep. Topaz Labs. All of them. Because it was dark and noisy. Very noisy.
And Topaz has a great denoise and sharpening app.
Right. So, right. Look it up.
So, Douglas, you can hit the arrows once you're in the
Arrows aren't working for his pictures.
What happened?
Technical issues.
Is it my fault? No. Okay.
No. I mean, that's the other thing, is we learned how to use our flash drives. They're not even moving?
No,
Oh, you know what? Those icons are not photo icons.
right. Doesn't know what kind of. Doesn't think they're.
No. See that one?
Oh, okay.
Right there, that means there's nothing there.
Really?
Oh, there you go. Perfect view? Here you go.
Okay, I still have it.
Perfect view is coming up, I just saw it.
Let's rename them all. Rename?
Yeah, no, the name. To the right. Yeah, to the right. Oh, yeah.
Really? Oh.
All right, so this is a little secret. If your photos don't come up, you can rename them to JPEG. And it might-
I thought they were, all of them.
You know, Jonathan, were these labeled as JPEGs?
Yes, they were. All of them. I don't know.
Yeah, tell us about what you saw.
Okay, so they did different acts, and I tried to select, one of each act, and they were flying and doing the rounds and hula hoops. You will hopefully you will see it soon. And what else can I say about it? The picture will talk for themselves. Sacramento, yeah,
Yeah, where were you sitting?
in the back, but by the walls. It was maybe about, I don't know, 50 feet away, and I was in the back by the walls, tried to get what I could. Actually, no. They actually say that if you have a camera, no problem, you can come in with a camera. So as long as there's no flash, that's the only thing. So,
So if you were in a certain view, see that other B64? Open that up. Okay.
okay, enjoy. If you have any questions.
You go into Topaz.
Yep.
What filters are you using?
This is the denoise.
Just the noise.
Just denoise for all of them.
So painterly.
This was before the new one came out. This way thing. Yeah. So denoise, which has some sharpening. The blue, I don't know. This you can still see some noise in the background.
It adds to it.
Everybody can say next, and I'll go on.
Oh, next. Hey, Jonathan, you say next.
Okay. Okay. This guy was going round and round in circles. Next. This guy was flying these fire things is like an Indian, native Indian. He was juggling this fire something in the air, and no, it was I don't know. It was an addition to compensate for the noise or something. So that's what came out of the background. Complementary colors, kind of. Next, this lady was doing the hula hoops. Many, 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 many. She started with one. She ended up with 100, I think. I'm not sure. And they was doing stunts in the air, throwing each other, catching, throwing and catching. Very dangerous stuff, but beautiful. This is the same guy like before. Next. Those two ladies were doing acrobats, yoga kind of thing with each other. Next. This lady with the hula hoops. You can count, I don't know, there's 100 there, I think. But the colors, I like the yellow and the blue and all these, they came together pretty nicely. Next. Thank you.
So Rachel asked what ISO he shot at. Very high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, next is should just double click on each one. Nope, he just put them in. Oh my gosh. Can't you just double click on the individual
The
images?
first one was a PNG file. That's what it is.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Oh, whose is this? All right. Gary, here you go.
Yeah, I hadn't shot any carnival rides before, so I went online, looked at a few articles, and the one I liked best said just wing it, even kind of move things around if you want to. So most of these were shot for 2 seconds, ISO 400, wide open aperture. Next. So this is like a progression of 3 speeds. Next. 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 And these were all handheld. I dragged the tripod around with me the entire night, but didn't use it once. Next. 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 Thanks.
My question for you is, would you do it again? Would you do it again? Would you go to the fair and do night shooting again?
Oh, yeah. I should have used a tripod.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
shots for both, just to see what the difference would be, what helpful would it be.
This is my question.
Open them up. Oh, so anyhow, this was a tough. I assume you guys all had similar situations trying to figure out what to put into your sequence. And when I looked at my catalog of over 100,000 images, I realized that about 40% of them are bike pictures, because I love to take mountain bike pictures. We're in one of the mountain bike meccas in North America. My son was a bike rider on the NU mountain bike team, and that's really where I started taking full-on pictures. And now I take pictures of all of the races that happen up here. So I thought I would give you just a short intro to capturing mountain bike action. If you ever have the chance, this is a great place to try some of this, because it's just so much fun. So go to the next picture. When taking action pictures, it's important to sort of put the racer in context. So here we've got the racer leading the race, sprint from the beginning of the start. So again, trying to put the racer in context with all of the competitors. Next. This is up at Raceway in Monterey. What's the Monterey Raceway? Laguna Seca. Yeah, this is up at Laguna Seca. Yeah, where the high school team races. Also putting the rider in context with the mountain. So here, I'm taking a picture at the top of the hill. You can see the trail. You can see the journey that this rider's been on to get to this point, racing against a competitor who's behind them. So again, trying to capture the grandeur. I'm also a landscape photographer, which is what drags me out to the mountain. So I love this shot just because it shows that journey. Next. Also capturing action. So, another great technique is to slow the camera down. This is about 1/40th of a second, and being able to pan with the rider while you hit the shutter so that the background gets blurred and they're actually in focus. So it's a great technique to try and capture the action. Next. Another part about being out in the forest is that the light moves. And after a lot of images that were dark and weren't interesting to look at, I realized you have to find the natural spotlights, which is the dappled light. Hopefully it's in the course on a nice place like this one was, and being able to capture the riders as they come into the spotlight. And I love this image just because you can see the rider, you can see the dirt, you can see the faces of all the crowd as they're all watching the action, and it looks like they are literally 2 feet from the riders as they come flying through at about 30 miles an hour. So, it's pretty fun to watch. And this is one of the top professional enduro bike races that happens just over by Empire Mine once a year every spring. And I'll invite you guys next year. It's one of the best places that, from a crowd perspective, you can actually get in. All the other mountain bike ride races are way up. You have to hike thousands of feet. Here it's just, it is a hike. I won't lie to you. It is a little bit of work, but it's the most spectator-friendly place to go take pictures. So I'll invite you guys all to this race this spring. Next. Another thing here, again, about the light here. You can see I've got 2 riders here. If I was to image that rider in the back, that would be a bad image, right? You can see he's dark, you can't see the face. But with this rider coming into the light, capturing them right before the bright spot, you can blow this up now and zoom in, and the light is in their face, it's in their chest, and you've got a really nicely lit image of the rider with a dark background, which really puts the spotlight on the rider. Next. Here's an example of artificial light. So in this one, I had a flash, off-camera flash with a wireless flash about 20 yards in front of me behind those bushes, but shining up on the rider. And then I would hit that, and then they would get a little bit of light onto their face. And so this is great when it's super dark and you don't have a spot with any sunlight, or it's overcast as it was this day. This is up on Round Mountain, which is up... John, where's Round Mountain? It's up back, up by Lake Vera Purdon area, up there. This is a great way to also capture this light. Although my wife says it sort of looks like I photopasted his head on his body, so it does sort of do weird things with the light, right? And then the last tip about getting good images is just to know where things are going to happen. So next picture, being able to be in the spot where something's going to happen. This is about 1/2000th of a second. Here at the end of the day, the spectators are holding full beer cans out for them to tail whip into, and you can see the spray as the bike riders attempt to hit the beer cans out of the spectators' hands. It's a great crowd pleaser. Everybody's wowing and cheering for this. And then, of course, next, Doug, the last image, also being with your head on a swivel, being able to capture those images that happen that really just sort of capture, the excitement of the day here. This rider's got 2 beers and he smashes them together, and you capture that image as a high point for the race. So thank you.
All right, Ann Wessling. Oh, so Ann is not here, and I told her I'd give her a really quick call, so if you'll just indulge me for a minute. She's down in Morro Bay, and so she can't be here, but she'll be back soon. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey, Ann, you're on speaker.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you.
All right, so we have your first image up that says Cereal Wars, Costa Rica. You take it from here.
Well, as you know, there were several of us that went to Costa Rica with David Wong and Josh Miller and Paolo. And so we were in Costa Rica for about 10 days or so. And Paolo gave us a wonderful overview of all of the socioeconomic situation in Costa Rica. And so one of the situations that he described, and David Wong, don't say anything, but one of the situations he described was the cereal wars. And it was a major issue for the Costa Ricans. So with that, could we go to the second slide?
It's there.
Oh, yay. Can I have some? I've had too much wine, Kathy.
It says,
I get more Fruit Loops.
yes,
I
it
get
says,
more Fruit Loops.
Right,
Yay,
it
we get
says
Fruit Loops for dinner.
right. Okay, cool.
And so that is a Kiel Bill toucan. Okay, so the next slide.
Okay.
And it says, oh boy.
Why do I get stuck eating flies and they get Fruit Loops?
That's right. That is a female curacao, and she says, why do I get stuck eating flies when there are Fruit Loops? Okay, next slide.
All right.
And then that is also a female curacao, and she says, Fruit Loops, I want some Fruit Loops.
Okay.
Next slide.
Okay, this is
No, you ninny, you don't get Fruit Loops, you get flies. I said flies. And the next slide is that is a lapwing. And he says, sounds like somebody has had too much sugar. You get oatmeal from now on. And then the next slide says, somebody's stealing my loops. And that's a Montezuma or a pendula attacking a collared aracari. And the next slide is, oh gosh, help me, Kathy. What's that slide of?
it says, Mom, may I try some Fruit Loops? And it's
Oh, okay,
really
those are
interesting.
two king vultures, and it says, Mom, may I have some Fruit Loops, please? And then the next slide is, no, kid, we don't eat Fruit Loops. We eat putrid, dead, stinky stuff. And then the last slide, those are two black vultures, and it says, my, that sounds putrid or horrid. And the other vulture says, let's get Mikey. He'll let us eat anything. And Nanu, Nanu. Sorry for the delayed response.
That's all right. Everybody appreciated your birds and your captions. Thanks, Ann.
Okay. Thanks a bunch. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. So this was the last long trip that I took. This was right before the pandemic hit. Started off with a work conference in Las Vegas, and then next I went to London. That's the Shard in London. To next Amsterdam. So this is looking one way, and then if you turn around next, this is the other way. That's the Nemo Science Museum, I believe. Next. Oh, that is in Belgium. That's Atomium. That's a humongous building, actually. It really doesn't look like it, but it's very big. Next. That's in Bruges. Yeah, next. That's in Paris. Well, obviously it's in Paris. It could be. I did have a picture of the Eiffel Tower in Vegas, but I didn't put that in. Next. Oh, and then I also went to Egypt a little bit. Thank you. Next. I think that's it. Yeah, there we go.
So just tell us a little bit about this trip. Was this all one trip?
So actually, I visited 9 cities in 14 days. Wow. So yeah, I ended up going to South Africa back home as well for my high school reunion.
Wow, that's amazing travel.
But I didn't include any photos of that.
Okay. All right, next. Is that Henry? Is that you? No? Oh. Who? I should know, huh? This is Eleni.
I titled this The Skies of the Rice Fields. And that's my passion, to go down to those rice fields all winter long. During COVID, I went at least 3 times a week. There's so much beauty down there between the reflections and the birds. And hardly anybody sees it. I know that because I go down there and I witness it by myself half the time. Anyways, this is actually, I believe, when I was in the Sutter Buttes looking down at the rice fields. So it's a far distant view. Next, sorry. I call this something about, it was a nice winter day, whatever. That's just typical. I think this might have been at Gray Lodge. Usually I hang out off of Woodruff on Loma Rica and Matthews, but I think this actually was Gray Lodge. Next. This is definitely the rice fields, maybe on Loma Rica Road. Actually, it's upside down because I preferred it that way because I love that blue on the bottom, and there's more of it. And I thought this sort of looked like a morning type of photo, but it's probably closer to sunset. But that's why I put it sort of in the beginning, because it looked like a morning. It's called Pastel Delight. Next. This is Checkerboard. Near sunset, I usually go down there. First, I hit Sycamore Ranch, day use area, and check out herons and egrets and all sorts of other birds there. And then I hit the sunset, definitely down there in the rice fields. Next. These are tundra swans. That's the most common swan you'll see down there. You can't see the tundra swans in hardly any of the wildlife refuges. It's only here, off of Loma Rica or Woodruff, you'll see tundras. And they are our native swan. The trumpeter are European imports. And they're gorgeous, up close, etc. Next, a flyout. I have a video that I took standing there. This is probably Loma Rica Road. And I watched the flyout. It was like a 5-way flyout, where first one flock goes, and then another flock goes. It was like a 5-way flyout. And I'm standing there in that pink glow, and I'm the only human being witnessing this. And I think, what a shame. You don't have to go to Africa, you just go down to Loma Rica Road and see this. Really, look at that. Ugh. Next. This is called E.T.'s flyout. Same area, and I've seen this guy more than once. I went on one of the side roads and figured out where he was going to park. And I have a video of him landing and driving right up to me until his little parachute falls down. And it turns out he is a manager for Mr. Matthews of Matthews Road rice fields. And so he just circles around the silos. He's only allowed to be up there either 5 gallons worth or 5 miles worth. And this was January 1st. He did it on January 1st. It was absolutely freezing, but it was worth it for him and me too. Okay, that's my ET flyout. Next. And that's the moon over the water, because now it's nighttime and that's the end. Okay.
Thank you, Eleni. That was great. This is Fred Finney, and Fred is not here tonight. He's heading off to Iceland. So he just wrote this, so I'm going to read it and we'll go through his images. It was a beautiful day for a hike in Marin with my family. When we arrived at Tennessee Beach, there were 2 girls flying a kite, and it reminded me of my childhood and my love of kites. What a wonderful way, it is wonderful, not wonderful, to spend an afternoon. I think I'm going to buy a kite. Fred Finney. So here are his images. You can just go through them on your own, Douglas. Seems like there should have been some music with that, with the way the kite was swaying back and forth. And that was Fred. All right, so that's me. A lot of you know, but not everybody, that I've got a show at Viewpoint Photo Gallery right now. And so I thought I'd just share 8 of my images. There are 31 there, and it's still up till Saturday. So the show's called Favorite Fairy Tales After Happily Ever After. And the whole concept really was, what happens to all our fairy tale characters in 2022? What are they doing? So this is Hansel and Gretel, and as adults, they're visiting the old witch's house, and she's looking back wondering if they really should go in after all. Next. We all know this guy. It's the Wizard of Oz. And the wizard in 2022 is a storm chaser. Bill Wages says he really wants that car. And I really appreciate all the people who modeled for me. Obviously, that's John Sievert. And so thanks, John. So next. So this is Pinocchio, and this is Pinocchio Woodworks. This one originally started out not as one of my images, and my images are all done in Photoshop. I composite. Most of the backgrounds are backgrounds that I've taken. All of the photos of the people are photos I've taken. I try and make sure I don't incorporate as much as possible. I didn't do the Jiminy Cricket up there. But when I do take things off the internet, I take them from free websites such as Pixabay, Pexels, or Unsplash. I do not take off of Google because that's illegal in my mind. So this one started out when some trees fell down in our backyard after Snowmageddon last December. And Rick is doing a lot of woodworking and wood turning. So he came over, this was about June, he came over and cut some burls out. And he's working on some bowls, and I get to have one of them. Yeah, I'm excited. But I thought he'd be a perfect Pinocchio. So what turned from a photo of Rick working on wood turned into a Pinocchio working on wood. In 2022, he owns the woodworks. Next. So this is The Princess and the Pea. And she owns a mattress store in 2022, a sleep store, of course. And we know this is our dear Ellen. And that was her creation that she was wearing. That's a cyanotype gown, and she made her headdress and her shoes. And that's a real white sofa that she was laying on there. I didn't composite that in, but I did composite in the background, and that castle is separate from the store. So that's the Princess and the Pea. And if you look at these a little closer, if you get up to them, there's all kinds of fun little Easter eggs in them. So, and there's some peas in the background, right? So that's Princess and the Pea in 2022. Next. So some of you may know Jerry, and he's not here tonight, but he is the Pied Piper. And he posed in my backyard against that big log that Rick was actually working on. And the story behind this is in 2022, the Pied Piper owns a music store, and all the animals love him. So that's the Pied Piper. Next. So this is just cheeky, Barbara says. So this is, I'm guessing you know this one. This is the Emperor with no clothes. And in 2022, the Emperor decided that he really liked being nude, and so he opened the Empire Nudist Camp. And as you can see, Douglas Hooper, we turned the tables because, he, as you know, if you know Douglas well, he loves to take beautiful photos of nude women. So we just decided we'd, make him the model this time. So thank you, Douglas. Next. Barbara and Bill Summers are Beauty and the Beast. I don't know if Bill could ever grow hair like that, but, he might be inspired now. The background image is one I took in Russia when I was in St. Petersburg. On the table are, the little Beauty and the Beast teapot and cup. And obviously, we have Beauty and the Beast there. Bill's not a beast. We love him. But thank you, Barbara and Bill, for Beauty and the Beast. So in 2022, they live in a castle in Russia. So that's the story here. Next. So this is Three Billy Goats Gruff. You might recognize Dave McClellan on the right, Larry Leffman on the left, and the guy in the middle, you don't know, he's my neighbor across the street. I hooked him in for this. And that was taken in my side yard. We have a bridge and a little pond that goes underneath it. And so the story here is they own Gruff Enterprises. And they are, I'm not really sure what they do for a living, but they sure are looking at all the little animals. So that's them. They have horns. So they're still billy goat. Next. So in 2022, Aladdin's genie, well, Aladdin's not alive anymore. His whole family's died out, but the genie is eternal. He's lives forever. So if you can look past the blue paint, that's David Wong. And he owns the restaurant called the Magic Lantern. And that was taken at Lefty's this summer before they closed. So in 2022, he's the chef for the Magic Lantern. And I think that should be it. Is that it? Yeah. Shelby, you are over there.
Hi, this is my first time doing this, so these are my photographs from Costa Rica. I went on a yoga retreat with 17 women. Next. So this is some ginger, and I got this Olympus M11 camera with this really, really sharp macro kind of lens, and I really enjoyed taking pictures of close up. Next. So I loved, there's this place called La Paz, and it had all these different animals in there, so it was raining, but I loved taking pictures of the hummingbird. Next. And I don't know, looking at photographing monkeys, they look so soulful and deep. And I really like this image that I took. Next. And then there's the macaws. They're right next to the ocean. There's macaws all over the place all the time where I was. It was very beautiful. Next. And this is one of the young women that were on the yoga retreat doing journaling on the ocean. The light in Costa Rica is so sweet and so beautiful. Next. And this is a poison frog. It was just right outside my door. I got close, but not that close. Next. And then the iguana. They just stayed at this one place. You just walked by and they were just, that was like their spot. And they're like, photograph me. So I did. Next. And then this last one is these green ant. There's these ants and they eat all these leaves and there's thousands of them and they make a trail. So I was with a 7-month-old boy and he just kept on staring at these ants. He's never seen anything like that before. I stayed away from them as well. Thank you.
That must be Douglas. I had a feeling. When we get about halfway, we should probably take a break.
Okay, so like folder 12, 13. The title of my set of pictures is The Fires of Burning Man 2022. This is the most popular art car in the history of Burning Man. The original is titled El Popo Mecanico, translated to the mechanical octopus. And it was brown and rusty and creaky, and it went for many years, and it was wearing out, and the maker, Dwayne Flatmo of Eureka, sold it to a museum in Las Vegas. And we knew it was all gone. And then I went to this year's Burning Man, and out comes rolling El Popo, and I went, what? And I found out this one is a remake. It's titled El Popo Magnifico. How big is it? The top of it is about 22 feet high. And there's lots of fire spinners there, and El Popo inspires people to put on spontaneous fire spinning shows. So she's right in front of El Popo, just to the right. This is a sculpture by the Flaming Lotus Girls. And here in Nevada City, we have the Beyond Fire Tribe, our own local fire spinning tribe. You may have seen them perform at the Hot Summer Nights on Broad Street in Nevada City. They are with the Fire Conclave for Burning Man, so they're asked to put on a fire performance before the man burns, along with about 10 other fire spinning groups from all around the country. And this is the temple burning down. And the two little figures in the lower right are people, to give you a scale. The temple is, I don't know, 100 feet tall. This is the beginning of the man burn, and this is how they lit the man this year. With really fun big explosions. And that's it.
Anybody? All right. Robert Arnold.
Well, I have a lot of photographs that I looked at. I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do to show 8. After looking at them for about 2 weeks, I said, well, I'm going to just go out and take 8 photographs. So I ended up going to a local market, and next door there's a used car lot, or had a bunch of rusted out cars. And I said, hey, autographics. So this is the first one I took, and next. Another shapes, forms. I really am kind of a graphic designer, so my photographs really kind of show the graphic element. I think that the series I have here are very painterly. The textures. I'm amazed what I can get off a iPhone. I took these and I blew them up to 16 by 20, and they look like paintings. But it's all the graphic element. Next. This was really a stressed out truck, and what I like about this is the similarity of the other photograph, but this is like a circle, and I'm looking at shapes and forms, and I really don't have any rule of thirds or fourths, or my rule is a fifth around 5 o'clock. Next. This is the hood ornament of I guess it's an Oldsmobile, and the way it rusts, all the surface of the hood itself rusted, but the chrome was really just pitted, but it didn't really affect it. And I think it's a nice graphic element. Next. Painterly again, just shapes and forms. I'm going to go back there because I hope the guy brings more cars in, just like it can feed me more cars. Next. Again, shapes, I was just, I was very pleased with the palette that I had to work with. I took maybe 200 photographs, that afternoon, and then I went home and worked on the 5th. Next. Obviously Chevrolet, but again, I'm just looking at the texture, especially in the lower right-hand corner of the peeling paint. As if you're an artist, and you want to have texture in your paintings, you work at it. Right now, if you're a photographer, you go out there and you can find these textures. Next. Oh, that's the last one, the 8th one. I thought that was appropriate, and I threw that in there. Again, most of my work is people, and I'm a kind of a people shooter and also a botanical photographer. And I really enjoyed this side trip, and I'm going to actually keep doing it and looking at other images out there because the old rusty cars and their shapes, I think they're delightful. That's it.
Where was this? I could see some auto repair place loving these, up on their walls. Yeah. He says it was in Colfax for those. Oh. No.
Colfax Road. There's the back porch market there. Yeah. Yeah. And this is like right next to it.
Okay, by the bowling alley, right? Yeah. Oh, cool. So we're all going to be there with you next time. All right. Whose is this? John. That doesn't look like a bike.
Okay, as most of you know, I went to Spain and threw my luggage away so that I could do the entire PhotoPills camp with somebody else's camera, lens, everything. So you know how that went. It's a long story for another time. And while I was there, we had a day to take pictures after being awake at 5 in the morning to take pictures, and then up till 2 a.m. doing Milky Way shots. In the middle of the day, you got to go into the town or the city of Ciudad de Menorca. And so these are pictures of probably the coolest things I've ever seen in my life is the many doors of Menorca. Next. Did not see one door that was the same as another door, and this is a town of 80,000 people in this small town, and you know how tight and high-density living it is in Europe. Next. And just the doors, so many just gorgeous paint, just in the numbers and the things that you see. And so each image has down to the threshold and around the side so you can see the number. and then a couple will give you an insight into, how their electricity gets into their house, right? It's right in front of the house on the, right above the door. Next. And some little older, but we take Visa. Next. And the door handle in the center of the door always kind of threw me. It's like, what was going to open, left or right? I don't know. But I just love the center knob. Yeah. Number 12. Next. This is in the city of Menorca, called Ciudad de Menorca, in the island of Menorca. So this is the island of I always get on Ballast Islands, the Mallorca, Menorca, and Ibiza, the 3 islands out in the middle of the Mediterranean. Okay, a little older. Next. And older yet. And I like the little side, little things where people put their little stuff. I think there was soap and shampoos, and it was like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Next. And again, this is iron door and the keyhole. I just loved the keyhole. And then I started thinking, well, I could do a whole series on keyholes. I'll stick with the doors right now. Okay, next. Thank you.
Okay, I was on the same trip with Ann Wesley, led by David Wong and Josh Miller and the local guide. And the theme of this is Critters of Costa Rica. And I learned a lot about photography on this trip. I'd recommend it for somebody who would like to tune up their skills, because I found that I was trying to chase the eyes of things with the focal point instead of moving the camera, so the focal point that was already there was on the eye. So I got a fair number of soft photos. But this one is titled Between the Bromeliads, and I became more fascinated with them. They're plants that grow on wood. They don't have roots like regular plants, kind of like our mistletoe. So this is a toucan in between 2 of those. Next. It's not very bright in here. So these are vultures feeding. Next. And these are vultures roosting for the night. They flew into the tree right by the lodge we were in, and then they spread their wings out to cool off. Next. This is a smaller version of a toucan called a toucanet, also next to a bromeliad. Next. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a lot of noise in that, and I tried to get it out with Topaz, and it did something really weird in Lightroom. So this is an eyelash viper. They're active at night. They land on flowers that have nectar and catch bats. Next.
Noise in this one or the last one?
The last one, that one.
This is rain, isn't it?
That one may be, yes. This is a fruit bat. They're attracted to sweet nectar instead of flies like ours are, or insects rather. Next. And I call this one hummingbird ballet.
Yeah.
And what I learned about flash units from the last one and this one, because I do have a remote trigger on that I can put on my camera and a flash so that I can separate from it on a tripod. But these were all shot with 4 flashes. The bat was triggered by a heat sensor, and this was triggered by us clicking on a remote trigger. And the purpose of the light is to try and catch the wings of the bat and the hummingbird so they look translucent. Next. And this is only through about the first 2 days of the trip, so I've got thousands more photos to go through. But I like this one because one of the photographers left a piece of tripod equipment, and this bird landed right next to it. So the title is, "Where's the Photographer?" And that should be it.
And that was David Nelson, just in case anybody didn't know. Oh, okay. So we're going to take about a 10-minute break? Yeah, and then we'll come back and this is halfway through. So don't leave, we got a lot more. Mike's getting the lights. Thank you, Mike.
Entitled Unexpected Visit. Next, please. This is Best Abstract, entitled Garnet Sand at the Beach by Tom Quinn. Best Architecture, entitled Stairs to Everywhere by Fred Classens. This is Best Fauna, entitled Get Off My Lawn, and by Bob Free. Best Flora, entitled Ancient Juniper by Eric Ingalls. Best Natural Landscape, entitled Sunset at Chickenfoot Lake by John Sievert. Best Night Photography, this is Milky Way over Sabrina Lake by John Sievert. Best People, this is entitled Artemis Arthur by Chris Schiller. Best Photojournalism, this is Fly Fishing in the High Sierra by George Pelpel. Best Travel, this is Dunrobin Castle, Scotland by Kathy Triolo. Best Creative Fantasy, Anything Goes, entitled The Model by Jonathan Beth. Best Manipulated but Realistic, it's entitled Jenny's Tea Litter by Rachel Rosenthal. Best Black and White, entitled Reaching New Heights by Tom Quinn. Best Color, entitled Cow Coming Home by Patricia Levitin. And our final category, Best Phone, Meteora Greece by Bernadette Sylvester. So let's give a round of applause to all of our winners.
Thank you, Rachel. All right. We start up. We have, 12, 13 more, I think. Whose is this? Women of the World. This is Ed Sylvester, and this is his series.
Thank you. I've found in our travels around the world, I really enjoy taking photographs of women because in so many ways, women are how they dress, how their facial structures, they're very identifiable. I take some pictures of men, but they're pretty unilaterally boring. And it's also provided an opportunity to meet a lot of people when I engaged with them and asked them to take their photographs. So, all right, so I'll show you a few here. This is in the northern part of Thailand, And this girl and her mother and her sister had a little tiny shop up in the middle of nowhere, and I just loved the light on her face. Next. This is in Namibia. These people live out just hard scrabble with raising cattle, and these one of the young girls in the group. Next. This is the woman in Bali, which I thought, her facial structure and the flower were kind of identifiable. Next, Cuba. Cuba's identified with cigars, and a lot of the women are packing some of these huge cigars, but I thought this one was pretty colorful. Next. This is in the Omo Valley in Ethiopia, and probably not the most attractive thing in the world, but if you've seen one without the lip plates, it's pretty hard to unsee that. Next this is also in Ethiopia. I saw this woman at a bus stop in the middle of nowhere. I thought she was very elegant. But I have found that the Ethiopian people are some of the most attractive in the world. So, next, this is in Papua New Guinea. We went there for the Sing Sing, and just some remarkable people there as well. Next, and of course, this was in Venice, and we went there for Carnival. And if you ever have a chance, that's a very unique spectacle, and you meet people from all over the world. So anyway, those are some of my favorite ladies in the world.
Thank you, Ed. And that's in addition to his wife, Bernadette, I'm sure. Oh, look at that.
We're a team.
So you might want to tell people who you are. It's on.
It's on. Hello. Ooh, hello. Yeah, I go with Ed, and all of those women are just a small fraction of his harem, I guess you'd call it. I had no idea what to do, and all of a sudden I was looking at some files, and the color green kind of popped out, and I thought, heck, why not? So this is just a collection, a random collection of photos that feature green. Next. Sort of green, yeah. Toucan in Costa Rica. We just saw a few of those before. They are just beautiful birds and very, very photogenic. Next. We went to Fairbanks up to, I don't know, just outside of there, there's a hot springs. And the last night we were there, the lights finally came out, so we got to see some very green, purpley aurora. Just incredible. What time of night was that? Time of night? Yeah. About 2 a.m. Next. We went to Cuba, and I had a little, I think, point-and-shoot camera at that time, and it had one of those spot color dials on it, and so this is a little car in the square in Havana. Next. This was in Bali, a rice terrace, and just amazingly tended to and beautiful. Next. This was in Maine. We went for fall color, and the trees, when we were leaving, were turning, and they were really spectacular. But I loved the color combinations in this and the reflection of the sun kind of in a little bit of water. Next. This is in the Palouse, and lots of you I know who take photographs have been to the Palouse. It's quite the place. Next. And this is Venice Carnival. The people gather in February with masks, and they're all anxious to have you take their picture. There's never any problem of trying to figure out how to approach somebody to take their photo. they really are dressed up for that event. And she was beautiful sitting on the stairs of the cathedral. I think that's it. Oh, no. This, I can't remember the name of this place. It's up towards the Gold Lakes Basin. Do you remember it was a garden that you could go through, like Monet's? The what? It's closed now, yeah. Yeah, it is. But this is one of the photos from up there, very much like Monet's garden in France. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay, it's Henry Goodman.
Bernadette mentioned Acadia, Maine, and I went to high school and college back east and got to spend the falls there, and so whenever I can, I try to get back to northern New England in the fall. And this is kind of a combination of a trip that I did last fall with a friend from high school I hadn't seen in 53 years, and we went hiking to some of the mountains called Acadia Mountain. Next. This is a creek that called Mill Creek that feeds into something called Duck Brook, which you'll see some pictures from there. Anyway, I just love the textures of this one in the fog.
Henry, are you using any program to?
No. No. Next. Oh, color didn't come out on this very well, but anyway, it was a maple tree in the fall with some blueberries, and the blueberries turn a brilliant red. Next. Okay, and that's Duck Brook that I was talking about. And interesting just how back there, the creeks, a lot of them, and I think it's because of sediment, even though it's very clean water, they have a dark color. But the color of the leaves I just love that. Next. Okay, and this was also in Duck Brook, and in eddies, the water was circling, so I did a long exposure on that. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Shutter speed.
Oh, 8 seconds. No, the other one would be about a quarter second. Yeah. Next. Okay, and then this was a place called, let's see, Acadia Mountain. The other one was Gorham Mountain. I got that messed up. But the first time I went with a photography group, and we went to a lot of places you didn't have to walk that far to get to. The second time I went, my friend Peter and I did a bunch of hikes where we hiked up some miles, and that's like a fjord in Maine. So, next. Oh, this one didn't come out very good either. Okay, yeah, I thought. Okay, and that's called the Tarn. And the birch trees are reflected in the tarn with the water lilies. Next. Okay, and then one evening we went out to this place. And we just happened to capture catch a spectacular sunset. And I think that's it. Thanks.
And that was Henry Goodman. So next is, speak up. Oh, okay. Sure. Who is it? Me. Oh, okay. Eric. I know you know who you are. It's Eric Engels. Yes. Here you go. This is the traveler.
So my sister found this ball of wire on her property in Colorado, and being an artist, she took an interest in it, but had no particular plans for it. She brought it into her art studio, put it on a shelf. When I came to visit in August with my wife, she gave us a tour of the art studio, and I saw this ball of wire sitting there. I thought, wow, that's interesting. And I was primed by the fact that the guest room we were staying in had photos of birds' nests on the wall that someone else had done. They were directly above the nest, and they were done in a way that really highlighted their depth, the three-dimensionality of them. And so I saw this ball of wire and thought, oh, that's like a bird's nest. So you can go to the next one. I set up my tripod and asked for a sheet of white paper to put the ball of wire on, and I took a bunch of photos of this ball of wire in different orientations, just using the light in the studio the way it was. Next. So they all had this different character to them. I'm not sure what is my favorite. Next.
Can you share why it spoke to you?
Hmm?
Can you share why these spoke to you, these images?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like someone drew with a marker on paper, but they have depth to them. And just the randomness of how they're put together just seemed really interesting to me. And then the shadows are really cool too. Yeah. Next, you can just go through them all. It's the same ball of wire. I just changed the position of it, turned it over, moved the camera a little bit, squished it to make it fit on the paper. Next one. And I processed all the photos to highlight the light that the wire was catching, so it didn't just look like black. And I think that worked fairly well. And next. That's the last one. And next. Oh. And next.
Thank you. A different perspective. Mike Che.
So I'm going to show you some images of Half Dome, and maybe some of them from perspectives you've never seen before. So this is the backside of Half Dome. Next. So is there anybody in here that's been to Yosemite and has not taken a picture of Half Dome? Can you raise your hand? See? Yeah, nobody. I mean, we all take pictures, and they're all, hopefully, we probably take them of this face of Half Dome. So we're going to see some of the other sides of Half Dome. Next. So this is from Glacier Point. So this is the the west side of Half Dome. And the next image, hold on one second. I've got this little laser pointer. Let me see if it's even going to work. Okay. So the next picture is going to be taken from this spot here, which is North Dome. And it's going to be looking across. So next. So you can see how from North Dome, it looks really, really close. And then the next picture is going to be taken, one back, go back, just because I want to point out, this thing's not working. Anyway, okay, next. So anybody here climbed Half Dome? Oh, cool. So you know what those cables are like. So this is you can kind of see the cables going up there. And just to get to this point is pretty darn tiring. Next. And here's what the cables look like. So it's 400 feet of cables. And I have to admit, when I got down there and I looked up, I said, oh man, I can't do this. I was so pumped to do it, and I go, I can't do it. And then my younger brother started up, and I'm like, oh no, if he's going, I've got to go. Can't let him show me up. So we went up, next. And then when you get up there, you get to be pretty darn tired, so we're going to rest up like this little marmot here. I don't know how the heck he reached those cables, but he made it up somehow. And next. And this is what it looks like on the top of Half Dome. Just, this big, kind of almost flat area. Next. And just a couple of views when you're looking down. The one on the right's Tenaya Canyon, and the one on the left's kind of more Yosemite Village area. And that's it.
And that was Mike Shea. And this is Emily. Okay, coming over. This is Emily Weissman. Here you are. And these are, I think, all film, right?
No. They're, so these are all digital. These are all from Galicia, Spain. But over many years, my husband is from Galicia, which is the northwest of Spain, and so we've been together like 23 years. So I lived there at one point, and then we were there at least once a year for most of our time together, and so I've always taken a lot of photos there. So it is, it has a long history there, and the people are, it was invaded many times, but because of the kind of geographic distance, it's remained pretty independent and unique in its culture. It has its own language, Gallego, and it has like Celtic ruins and sort of Celtic traditions, and it's a really beautiful place. So I decided to include photos from like many years. So some of them are a little blurry. So I have been really drawn to the mountains there, like very remote mountains. Many of the village are abandoned or largely abandoned, like used to have a couple hundred people and now are a few people left. My husband wants to move there when we retire. And this is a building that we pass by when we go stay at a bed and breakfast and then do a hike. And I always admire it. Next. And then this is also like sort of in the mountain area. My husband was collecting forestry samples one year, and I came to visit and joined him, and just like a lot of the images that I've taken over the years have just been like found places, we might be hiking or, visiting somewhere, and, just lovely. Next. And this was a photo I took out of the car window not long before COVID. Just really spoke to me, sort of the building and like the was falling apart, and the I guess like the graphic quality of it. Next. And this was a restaurant we took my parents to one time when they visited, and then there's like this beautiful beach outside, and I don't know, something about the colors and just really spoke to me. Next. And this is a little, actually looks better than I was worried about, but this is the town that he's from, and this is like this bridge that they built along the coast. And it's very foggy and cold there in the winter. Next. This is my mother-in-law, and this is her cooking churrasco in the outside. They have like 3 kitchens, and this is the outside one where they grill or smoke. I guess it's like smoking. Next. And this is so this is the bed and breakfast that we sometimes go to in the mountains, and this is the mother of the owner of it, and every day she takes the cows out, and she actually passed away a few years ago, but I could barely understand her. She had very close Gallego. Next. And then this is the town where he's from, the Christmas celebration. And I've been like wanting to go back and photograph this again because it's extremely grainy. I think I took this in 2008 or something, but I just haven't gone back around that time period. And I think that's it.
Still looks good.
Yeah. Thank you.
And that was Emily Weissman. And we learned about a place I've never been to. That's going to be exciting to go see. Next, who is doing Alaska? Me. Oh, it's Barbara, our membership person.
So in July, Bill and I took a photo tour up to Alaska. And we took a bush plane out of Anchorage down to the Cook Inlet. And you know all those fabulous pictures you see of the bears and they're splashing in the water and they're tearing salmon apart and so forth? Yeah, this is not one of those. This is specifically about the sows and their new cubs. So I am not somebody who is fond of humanizing animals. They're animals and they do what they do, right? And whatever we think that they're doing is individual. I was talking to Janice Rosner the other day, and she said, well, a mammal is a mammal is a mammal, and I think she's right about that. So anyway, you see what you think. This little cub is actually getting ready to scratch his ear. Next. So I did not put him in that position. I just took the picture. So you think whatever you think about what you see there, okay? Next. Belly up to the bar for lunch. Next. Time to go. We're out of here. Bye-bye. Next. That's Mom. That's the sow. Next. Now, if the cub and the mom here look really grainy, they are. They've been rolling around in the sand all over the place, and I thought it was just great fun that everybody's just got their feet in the air and just really enjoying this. Next. A good cheek rub is always a good thing. Next. Photobomb. Next. That's it. Thank you.
Nice. Barbara, were those bears aware that you were there?
Oh yes.
They were aware?
Yeah.
And how far away were you?
They are. It's a preserve. So the deal is, don't pet them. Don't feed them. They won't like you if you do that. And as long as you don't impede where they're going or get between a mom and a cub, they pretty much ignore. They've been raised there. They know people, but don't interfere with them. They are wild. There were times at the beach where they were lazing around and sleeping. The tide came in, and they were getting wet. And so they got up and walked from me to Ed, right there. Just sauntered right on by, stand still, and just watch him go by. It was great.
All right. Sounds like a great time. All right, Grace. This is Grace Farring, and she is over here.
Okay, so these are photos that I took at a recent rodeo, junior rodeo out in Sierraville. I've taken a lot of photos at rodeo type events like Gymkhanas. My sister and my niece both ride and compete in these, so it's really fun for me to go along and take photos. Usually when I go, I try and I'm just practicing action shots, like that's fun for me. But this time I thought I wanted to try and kind of push myself a little bit to take more of the surrounding, like the people, and that's something I struggle with, taking candid shots of people. So I wanted to do that and also practice some different techniques as well. So we'll see a little bit of that as we go through. All right, next. So this is actually my niece and her dad, and they were standing right there, and she was really tired, even though this was the beginning of the day. But and I just kind of really loved how the setting was right there and the flag behind, and so I caught that shot. And just then she was like looking at the camera, and I just loved the expression. So next. This one was fun. This is actually my sister practicing. She was throwing the lasso, and I stood in front. And just there, the loop happened to catch around my niece's face. So I just liked how that turned out and threw that in for fun. Next. All right, and then here's a shot of a young cowboy riding down the little cow there. Just trying to get that sort of action and feel for what's going on there. Next. No, those are not fake horns, but they are. They wrap them, I think. I'm not really sure. I'm guessing for safety reasons, but those are horns. All right, next. All right, so here was one of the candid shots of people in the stands. I was trying to act like I wasn't taking pictures looking at them, so it's sort of a weird, like I caught some weird expressions, but I actually just kind of liked it. They were just kind of messing around up there, just a group of kids. So anyway, next. Here's a young lady rounding the barrels. Here I was just really trying for a sharp action shot, so pretty high shutter speed, probably 2000? I don't know how to say it right, guys. Sorry, I'm still learning. But 2000, you know what I mean. Next. Another people shot here. I just really loved this guy's aviators. And then I kind of like too that I happened to catch the other guy, I guess, kind of saw me taking the photo, it looks like. As you can see too, I really enjoy taking black and white. I did do color shots here also, but I really, really love taking black and white photos, and so I included those as well. Next. This little girl was I just loved her little, they're not quite ponytails, but she was just kind of this little character, and she was climbing all over the fence, and I just caught this shot of her looking out towards the arena along with some other people there, but I just thought she was really cute. So next. And I think this is my last shot. This is probably my favorite shot of the day, and this was where I was really trying the panning technique. And I like this shot not just because I feel like I kind of succeeded at what I was trying to do, but I love the expression on the kid's face. This is an event where they come running up to, there's a little goat that they have to try and catch, and basically these kids just leap off the horses. You can see he's getting ready to hit the ground. The horse is, going pretty fast, and I love that this really caught that sensation of the speed and the kid's excitement, and he's ready to go. He's got the lasso or the rope in his teeth, and he's just ready. And that's where I wanted to end. So thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Brad, you're over there somewhere. Let me come back. That's all right. This is good. Extra cake. All right. Here's Brad Oliver.
This shot was taken, actually it's a composite of two different pictures, the sunset and a tractor. Question mark on there is farm to fork, and this is going to be about strawberries, and strawberries aren't normally, sometimes they're eaten with a fork, but a lot of times they're not. This is kind of typical of the Salinas Valley. These guys that work out in the fields, they get to see these kind of sunsets all the time, which is kind of a perk for their job. Next. These are some sprinkler irrigations heads, and in strawberry production, they start out trying to get the fields wet so they can work the ground up into beds. Next. And this is just a shot of an irrigation system. It's a little screen there to keep the spray from coming onto the roads. Next. This is a shot of some discs, and that's not actually chrome plated. Those are polished by the ground after hours and hours of work in the fields. Next. After these fields are bedded up, they're covered with plastic, and this is a machine that lays the plastic on the beds. A lot of these fields, after they're in production, they're drip irrigated, and this is the plastic is kind of a way to keep the berries off the dirt and also to preserve the moisture. Next. These fellows, after the plastic is laid, they go around with these like cookie cutters that are heated up by propane, and they're cutting holes in the plastic, and they're going to be planting the strawberries in the holes. Next. This is a crew out early one morning in the fog. They're planting strawberries. Next. And this is another crew harvesting. This is after the crops are coming in. And as I mentioned before, strawberries are not always eaten with a fork. And a lot of the confections with the strawberries are eaten by other ways. Final slide. This is my granddaughter, and I think there's strawberries in that cake right there. But this is a wedding in Lake Havasu. It was earlier this year. And that's it.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, Tom Quinn over there. So I'm getting my exercise again, guys.
So we were up in Alaska 2 weeks ago, and I don't do a lot of wildlife photography, but you can't go to Alaska without doing some wildlife photography. And so I was going through photos trying to pick, and originally this was going to be critters of the Kenai Peninsula with stellar sea lions and harbor seals and etc., sea otters. But with 8 photos, I decided, nope, we're just going to keep it at birds. And these are sandhill cranes that were flying over by the Portage Glacier area. And I got curious because 2 days ago over my house up on Banner Mountain, we had about 200 sandhill cranes going over. And so I started reading about this. Well, it turns out these very same sandhill cranes that were at Portage Glacier have been banded, and they are the ones that land around Lodi and in the rice fields and whatnot around here. So I just found that kind of fascinating. That next. When I do take wildlife photographs, I prefer to try to get them in the context of the landscape they're in, to show that they're not taken in a zoo or some sort of unnatural habitat. So although I have close-ups of some birds, I tend to try to get them in this context. And I like this one because it's kind of a misty Kenai Peninsula Alaskan scene. Next. And this one gave me kind of an aggressive stare, even though I was not very close. They definitely keep an eye on you. Next. These are black-legged kittiwakes. And I'm going to talk a little bit about kittiwakes in a couple of subsequent photos. They generally have their rookeries on cliffs. And if you read about it, they say they're almost exclusively on cliffs and islands. But this was a fairly large rookery under piers in Homer, Alaska. And what's fascinating is the adults look more like what you might think of traditional seagull looking like. And the immatures look very different with the black beak and totally different markings. And they're really fascinating birds. They're pelagic birds. They spend the vast majority of their lives out in the open sea, never touching land. They only come in on land for 3 months, 2.5 months to raise the young. Next. This is a immature black-legged kittiwake. And this is a rookery that the day before we got there, we were told there were thousands of birds on these cliffs. When we got there, there were about 200, and the next day they were gone. Every single bird was gone. They just leave en masse and go out into the open sea. And what I found fascinating is I took a whole bunch of these pictures of these birds, again, these white birds with backlighting against the dark cliffs, and virtually every one were the immatures. And I think they were smart ones. Like, why do I want to go to float around on the North Seas when I have this pretty spot in the sun by the waterfall? Next. These are trumpeter swans. Just happened to come across a group. They were pretty. Next. Another I was actually just going to do 8 or 9 slides of these kittiwakes with the waterfalls because I've got quite a few that are pretty fascinating, but I just put a couple in. And you photographers might appreciate the challenge of bright white birds, bright waterfall, dark cliffs. Exposures were interesting, and then throw in high speeds of these birds soaring around. And again, always the immatures. I think they were having fun learning to fly and practicing their flying, and the adults were pretty much bobbing on the water. Next. Had a couple of ravens just enjoying the view. Some of these broad glacial vistas on the Kenai Peninsula are just mind-boggling. And I came across these two. Got another shot where their backs are just looking like they're looking out at the glacier, which is kind of fun as well, but I like this profile shot a little bit more. And last, I think, got pretty lucky with this shot. And it's just happened to come across a bird that had just landed on a stump, jammed on the brakes, hopped out of the car, didn't bother changing lenses. As soon as I started getting anywhere near close to him standing, he took off, and I got that shot. The question was, what focal length is that? And I don't have that memorized, but it was not that long because, again, close to the side of the road on a post, and didn't have time to put my big telephoto on. So I was taken with a medium telephoto zoom, probably in the neighborhood of 200. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. That was beautiful. And next we have another Alaska person, Ellen Davis.
All right. So I actually lived in Anchorage for 18 years, and I got to go back up in August to visit family and friends, and it rained quite a lot, and it was lovely. And so these are just some of my favorite shots that I took while I was around town, and these were all taken with my cell phone. I used an app called Hipstamatic, and it simulates film and different types of lenses. And I've arranged my photos in four diptychs, and each photo somehow relates to the next. So, all right, next. It actually is raining a little bit. You can see little raindrops on the water. This is Westchester Lagoon. This is actually not in the middle of the city, but it's pretty well embedded in the city. There's there's 2 bike trails meet nearby. We can go paddling in the summer, and then in the winter, people go ice skating. And just like in those trees is one of the busiest streets on the west side, and then there are train tracks behind. So even though this looks very calm and idyllic and still, there's a lot going on around it. So next. And this is an estuary on the Tony Knowles Coastal Trail, and this is actually just on the other side of the tracks from the lagoon. There are a couple of sandhill cranes, the 2 little dots kind of about a third of the way down. And in the very back, you can see the port, and that is one of the busiest ports in the state. Next. And this is actually looking the other direction, and I've always just loved those really deep curves of this water. And next. And this is an actual shot of the trail, and I've always just loved this particular section for these beautiful curves. And when you're riding a bike, this is at the bottom of a hill, so you're usually just like blasting through, so it's a lot of fun to wiggle around the curves. And next. That's a mushroom. There were a lot of them. I mean, I'd never seen so many mushrooms before. I mean, they were just absolutely everywhere. It kind of looked like Super Mario Brothers for a while because there were so many. And this just looked, it was so wet and it just rained so much. And so it just had this weird, shiny, artificial, weird dessert look to it. But I just thought it was just interesting. And that is exactly how it looked. Next. And this is also kind of shiny and a little artificial, but this was in and one thing I really loved about Anchorage is just it's incredibly diverse. You wouldn't expect that from an Alaskan city, but it has as much as diversity as New York City, San Francisco. There are hundreds of different languages spoken, many different cultures represented. And, it's like there are little specialty grocery stores all around town. There's the Russian market, the Mexican market, the halal market, and there were several Korean markets. And they just had these tasty little side dishes, and I just liked the graphic nature and then the one missing. Next. And this is my friend Lydia. She's the mother of one of my best friends, Kesh. And, she's like a mother figure to me in Alaska. And we were going out to eat, and we went to a beautiful place called, the place itself wasn't beautiful, but the location, it was on the Turnagain Arm, and it was called the Turnagain Armpit Barbecue. So... And and we ate outside because Lydia, she has a lot of, she's very, very high risk for COVID. So we just decided to eat outside, even though it might rain, but we got very lucky with the break in the weather. But there was still some dripping come down, and I just liked that moment. So, next. And this was pure luck. This is a long intersection. I was sitting there. You can sit there for several minutes, but I pulled up and I saw this scene, and I frantically scrambled for my purse, trying to find my phone. Cash is trying to, grab my purse, and I'm just like, give me the phone again. Before she moved, and then she started to move, and then turn back around, and she couldn't hear me, but she listened to me. And so I was able to get my shot. And that should be it.
Thank you, Ellen. That was great. This looks like somebody who went to Costa Rica again. Who is it? Oh, it's David Wong. Of course he did. Oh.
So I didn't entitle these. I didn't direct these guys. But this was in a place called Laguna Lagarta. And these are Arikari toucans. And I love these little guys. They have so much expression that even though I know, we shouldn't try to read human, attributes to them, but this guy is there looking for his buddy. Next. Oh, there you are. Where have you been? I just got up. Next. Oh, yeah. There you are. Yeah, haven't seen you for a while there. I mean, even if they look like they're saying something. Next. Yeah, it's about time. Yeah. What are you yelling about? Yeah. Next. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to get out of here. You're yelling too much at me. Next. That's enough. That's enough of that. I think finally we've had enough of it. Next. That's the end.
Cute. Thank you, David. June, oh, you did get it loaded. Yay. This is June Anderson.
Thanks. All right, you can start. Next. Okay, so one of the things I love machinery, and as most of you know, at the North Star Museum, there's a ton of machinery outside near the entrance, and it's rusty, and I love looking at the texture and the shapes of the rust and the surfaces. So next. These are all close up, zooming in. I rarely zoom out. I zoom in. Next. I love the color here. I love getting the image in the computer and then working on it, enhancing it. Next. These are Pelton wheels and stamp. What do they call them? Yeah. Okay, next. 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 That's the last one. Okay.
Thank you. Is that it? All right. Thank you to everyone for presenting your series tonight. What a variety we had. There's a couple of things we want to remind you about. Rachel, do you want to take the mic or do you? Yeah. But I do want to talk about next month we have Therese Iconian, who was here in the back. I think she just took off. Oh, she's going to talk about travel blogging. She's got some really interesting photos. She went to Chernobyl and got inside and took photos there. And also, don't forget to vote on your favorite photo. Don't let that go. And here's Rachel.
Thank you. So congratulations to everybody. That was fantastic. So what a breadth of photography. Very inspirational, too, I will say. So as Kathy just said, we did not have critique tonight, but members did submit images, hopefully, on Friday, not by Friday night. So those images are on our website, and you can vote. And the winners will be announced next month. But there are images up there to be voted on, so please do so. So then our next meeting, always the fourth Monday, is October 24th, and you'll be able to vote until the Friday before. So with that, congratulations, everybody, for a great program, and have a good night. Good night.